It's the Mike Rogers Show it's Mike Rogers on the Mike Rogers Show right here on YouTube. And today we have part 2 of our interview with Brigitte Handley from the Dark Shadows. Brigitte, hey, thank you for coming back.
Arigato, Mike-san. Thank you for having me.
So, yesterday you just started telling us about how Dark Shadows began. You went to a party and you met who at the party?
Carly, the bass player from the Dark Shadow Future.
And you guys were wearing the exact same clothes?
We not at the same time, but we were admiring each other's style. They have a word for that in Germany. They call it partner look. But
do
no,
they do that in Germany? They do that in Japan. Couples will wear like the same Mickey Mouse sweater or something like that. They do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They do that in Germany too?
I think some people might do. Yeah, I haven't seen it that often, but they do have they have a term for everything in German, so that's what they call it, partner look. But no, we weren't doing a partner look. We just met each other at a punk gig. And
what punk gig was it? What punk gig was it? Do you remember?
We can't remember because we used to go out to a lot of the same concerts, and then we were like, I was at that show. Maybe it was Mark Pelican. Maybe it was, it could have been. Yeah, we're not exactly sure, but we found that we had a lot of similar tastes in music and in style as well, and we're admiring each other's style. And I go, hey, you know, that's a cool creepers. I've got similar ones, and cool belt. I've got that belt too. And
wait a minute, I have to ask a question. I don't understand what creepers means. What does that mean?
They're like kind of the shoes that the teddy boys used to wear in the yeah.
Those are called creepers?
Yeah, actually brothel creepers, but we just they're like creep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And originally they were crepe sole, like rubber shoes, the thick kind of shoes, and and like later the punks wore them, and now anyone wears them. And you know, at the time they weren't that easy to get in Australia. I had to save up lots of money and order them from the underground shoes in the UK, because that was the only place you could get them.
Wow.
There was one shop that sold Doc Martens and creepers in Sydney, but they never had my size, and they were really, you know, they were really out of style at that time. They only had dusty ones left over from the 80s. So, and at that time they were not really, you know, because of, I think through the music and through, you know, we kind of gravitated towards that style. And so Carly and I, we found that we liked a lot of the same music. We'd been to a lot of the same gigs, but we didn't know each other at that time. And we kind of just became friends and hung out. And at that time, I'd been working on my songs, and I was looking for musicians. And she said that she was, you know, she'd been sort of doing a bit of playing a bit of bass and some, you know, garage bands and stuff. And I said, well, hey, you want to play bass in my project? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And so that's it. Sort of, it was for a while. It was Carly and I, and we were doing a lot of open mic nights to work up the songs, and we were doing like acoustic stuff actually, which is quite funny. You know, like the songs I wrote on acoustic to begin with, and then we worked them up from there. So you know, we started doing that as a duo, and then we had a couple of guys on sit on drums, Lee Maloney, and then we met a really cool drummer called Stella Mozgawa. And she played drums for us on the first year of the Dark Shadows, and before we played in shows, we just kind of really worked on our like, I think we just rehearsed and worked on stuff like 2 or 3 times a week, rehearsals for about 6 months before we played our first show.
Wow.
And yeah, and like we got out there and just rocked a place. I think it was the Marquee was one of our first shows, and it was just like the most amazing energy to be on the stage with these guys, you know. And so Stella, she was with us in the beginning, and then she ended up leaving. She was in a few different bands, and she ended up leaving to go to Los Angeles to be based in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up writing with Flea, and now she's playing in a band called Warpaint, and doing really amazing stuff with those guys.
That's so weird. I know Flea very well, and I've known Flea for a long time. Like Flea used to play in a band called Fear.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
The punk band Fear, and my band and Fear used to tour together a lot. We used to play a lot of shows, and he's the only one. Well, the other guys in the band, they were okay, but he was the only one who's was nice to me. And when the Red Hot Chili Peppers came to Tokyo, when was that? Maybe 15 years ago. He invited me, and I asked him, like, well, can I bring my other radio DJ friends? And he was like, sure. And we went to Tokyo Dome and saw the live show and met him and stuff like that. So that's weird.
Yeah. Small world and rock and roll.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Wow.
So then, and you can see in our first single that we did a music video for Alien Movies, and Stella,
I remember that.
Stella, yeah, she's playing drums in that clip. And then so we were looking for another drummer at this time, you know, because Stella was amazing. She was very hard to replace. Mm-hmm. We had a friend of mine. He stepped in on drums. Dave, he was playing with us for a little while, and then we had done some shows together with a band called the Fireflies, and Ned Wu was playing drums with them. And they kind of broke up at the same time that Stella left, or round about that time. And then we said, hey, we're looking for a drummer. And she's like, hey, I'm looking for a band. And so she joined the Dark Shadows. And it was known as, at the beginning, we were Brigitte Hanley, then Brigitte Hanley and the Dark Shadows. Oh. And then when Ned joined, it really, you know, it gelled in a whole new way and in a really positive way, and then we just became the Dark Shadows, and so we kind of and we toured in the States a couple of times, or quite a few times actually. We're doing like 2 or 3 times a year, back and forth thing. And then we went to Europe, and it became harder to, the laws changed with the work permits to get into the States, so it became very difficult. And so we ended up going to Europe, so because it was just so much easier, and then we loved it as well, you know, and we were like, okay. And I think the band when we came to Europe, it was such a new inspiration, you know, of just, you know, so many different countries and languages and cultures, the architecture and the music that we heard. And I think that's when, you know, we kind of, the songs changed a little bit, the sound and the style changed, and we became, you know, a bit more kind of post-punky, I guess. Yeah. We went a little bit more into that sort of electronic kind of direction, which I kind of went further with and developed that with my solo projects. So so that's the story of the Dark Shadows.
So what year was that with your new drummer, the Dark Shadows coagulated and came into a band, and you dropped Brigitte Hanley and the Dark Shadows? What year was that?
I think it might have been like it's a late 2000 and maybe 2008, 2009 or something like that. Yeah. And then we kind of, that's when it became, I think, the Dark Shadows. And then we went, we were touring. We toured with the Quakes and the Resurrects through, and Mad Sin, a German band, psychobilly band, through the States. And then we went through Europe, and we were doing like 2 tours a year in Europe, back and forth. The first time we toured, we had an arts grant from the Australian Arts Council to help us with, to tour with our expenses and stuff, because obviously traveling 3 people flying across the world is a little, expensive, so that was really great. That helped us a lot when we first went to Europe, but then we wanted to keep doing it because it was such, I think we really found ourselves. We really, found our new direction at that point. And to do that, we decided, okay, well, the only way we can actually afford to do this as a self-funded indie band was we fly over and then take trains. And so, much to the amazement of our booking agent at the time, no one was doing this. And so it was like us 3, Ned with her cymbals and her snare and her kick pedal, me with Carly and I with guitars and merch and everything, and trying to jam everything, get on these German trains, and then find a seat, and then it was a real adventure. But we were like, hey, it's better for the environment, and it was actually better for us because we didn't have to get stuck in traffic and be exhausted through driving. We could sleep on the train, get a cup of tea, whatever. And that's how we toured, and I still do that to this day, actually. So
I think that's lots better because I really hate airports. And and the only thing, I don't know if it's worse, but being in a traffic jam, and I mean a real traffic jam. In Japan we have real traffic jams, but I just can't stand that. I can't, even going to the airport is like going to the dentist for me. I just can't stand it. And then you gotta be there 3 hours early and screw around. And then they ask you got your passport? Well, of course I do. And then, well, you don't have this special stamp. It's like. And
then you've got guitars, and then you've got your pedal board that you've got to hide behind a corner to try and sneak it on the carry-on without them weighing it, and all the other things that we had to do. But now it's crazy. They don't even make you now, since COVID. I've got a show in Vienna coming up later in the year, and I have to fly there. And it was just like, they've changed it now. You can't even take a carry-on guitar anymore. You have to buy a seat with a lot of the carriers now. Like a cello or something, you have to buy a seat for your guitar. So I found one airline that still lets you take it on as a carry-on, as you carry on baggage. And I'm going with them, but I'm just dreading it. I'm so nervous about it. It was only that the overnight train was already booked out. Otherwise, I'd take a train there. But
can't you get somebody? I mean, see, I don't play the guitar, so I don't know. Can't you get somebody like to lend you a guitar when you go there or something like that? Is that?
It can, sometimes, but sometimes we get attached to our own instrument.
Right, of course, yes. So that's the story of Dark Shadows. What's in the near future for Dark Shadows?
Well, we've got a bunch of songs that we've still got to finish off, and things in the works and stuff. So we're not sure. At the moment things are a little bit difficult to go on tour because we're in different countries and it's not so easy to get around at the moment. But who knows what's going to happen in the future. We'll see what goes on next year. But we just put Sour Candy out there because like I said, it felt like the right time to do it, and it felt good for us too, you know, like it feels good for us to get it out there, and we'll just see how that goes and see what comes from that. And in the meantime, we're all like working on our projects. Ned on a taiko, Carly's in her punk bands, I'm doing my solo kind of stuff. I've got a new single that I'm working on at the moment that we're working on a video for my solo project. I'm really excited about that. We've got some, you know, shows coming up for the autumn in Europe for my solo project. So we're playing a festival in Zurich in November, the Sounds from the Heart Festival. And so that's, you know, there's lots of stuff on the boil. And obviously COVID was a bit of a spanner in the works. It sort of held things back a little bit, but not really, because in a way, through, you know, people like yourself, the DJs, and a lot of DJs that have been streaming every week through the pandemic have been so amazing in getting the music out there and connecting all the different people in different parts of the world, you know. Like it's been a while since Dark Shadows have been able to play live in Tokyo and also solo. You know, I haven't been able to get to Japan for a while, but we've got people like you playing our music in Japan, and other DJs that are more in the, you know, the dark and wave and gothic scene playing stuff in Japan and streaming. And there's been these online streaming festivals raising money for, you know, different charities through the last 2 years that have been really connecting a lot of people, you know, connecting everyone throughout the world. So I've been doing a lot of live stream videos, like performing, filming myself in lockdown in the cellar of where here in Germany, in the bunker, I say, and playing live, and then they release the different DJs will release that as a live stream, and it's been, you know, to raise money for Red Cross. We just did one at Gloucester Sanctuaries live stream to raise money for different animal sanctuaries all around the world. There's been, you know, lots of amazing causes that have, you know, brought us all together in through these difficult times, and thanks to the DJs that are out there organizing this.
Wow, that's cool. So tell your other two band members to send me their songs, because actually my show is on in 19 countries and 55 radio stations. And
wow, that's amazing.
I added another one today, but I don't want to talk about that. Because I'm always looking for brand new music. And
cool.
I usually play on my show, a lot of Japanese music, but I have another show that I have to do that plays mostly Western music. So if they have songs they're proud of, they want it played, have them send it to me. Wave files, if they can. So, tell us about Brigitte Handley, your solo project.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's developed like as a sort of a side joint from the Dark Shadows in conjunction, because I started with the acoustic kind of solo thing, and that was kind of scary for me because I'd always played in bands before, and to go out there and, you know, perform the songs in acoustic, like in the stripped down version, the songs are written, really was a real challenge for me. At first it was, you know, kind of scary, but I embraced the challenge, and I really think I've become a much better musician and performer for that. You know, I've kind of been working with an Australian creative collective called Matahari Ranch, and we just released this one here. It's a 12-inch vinyl maxi EP.
Wow.
Vinyl. Just come out. We've just done a limited release on Citrus Gold vinyl as well. And so I've been working with Matahari Ranch on this song Kern, which is basically a homage to the city and the inspiration that it's given through the Dark Shadows music, but also through my personal experiences. And we wanted to kind of capture the energy and the feel and this whole vibe of being a stranger in a strange new land, you know.
Yeah.
We wanted to capture that in the music, and with the Matahari Ranch guys, we worked on a lot of kind of new kind of synth kind of vibe, and then I worked with the lyrics and incorporated a lot of. I tried to incorporate a lot of the feelings and a lot of even mentions of different venues and places and times. Yeah, and that's the song that I released recently.
I think, I'm not sure, but you sent me that record before. At that time, I have a show called Color Red Radio, and it's 2 hours long, and it's on Sundays at 5 p.m. in New York time. But it's broadcast all over the world. It's on a really WFMU, very famous station, you know. And that on that show, I play that kind of music. So, wait a minute. Do I have... It just takes a second to find out. Do I have it? Whoops. How do you spell that? KOLN?
That's right, yeah.
No, I don't see it. Well, send me data for that again. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
okay, so the last thing, do you have any advice or tips? Let's say, you know, I'm an 18-year-old musician. I want to play in a band. What advice can you give me? What should I do? Should I practice every day? Should I find a good manager? Should I learn about music publishing? What would you do if you could go back, if you were like 18 and you knew then what you know now? What would you tell somebody to do?
I would just say stay true to yourself and what feels right for you, what feels comfortable for you, but then push that a little bit, you know, push yourself into a little bit of dangerous waters is kind of good for sometimes. So meaning, you know, work on, I would say to myself, you know, work on just keep focused on your songwriting, work on that. And once you kind of have the songs, the rest kind of falls into place, you know. So it's, I think that to me is probably that was the biggest lesson I had to learn, you know, but it's different for everyone. So, you know, if anything, just, you know, stay true to yourself, believe in yourself, and just go for it. Just go. Just take a chance. Just go for it.
Wow. So that's how I failed. Anyway.
Love of the God. You know, you got to try. You got to give it a go, right?
Yeah, you got to give it a go. Give it the good old college try.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, Brigitte, thanks so much. Thanks so much for being our guest on this show. Thank you for yesterday. Thank you for today. Very interesting talk, and I really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, big thanks to Miss Brigitte Handley from Dark Shadows and Brigitte's solo work. And don't forget, if you like this video, go down here and click subscribe, or I don't know where it is, subscribe or like or whatever. And please become a subscriber to the Mike Rogers Show. Thank you so much, Brigitte.
Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much, Mike-san.